weather affects everything, from how we feel to how we live. But what's really going on above us? Each week on Atmospheric Insight, we dig deeper into the science of weather and the stories it shapes. This is Atmospheric Insight, where science meets the sky.
Welcome back. Another week of Atmospheric Insight. I'm meteorologist Adam Epstein.
I'm meteorologist Riley O'Connor.
And Riley, it's another hot week
It
of
is.
Atmospheric Insight. Feeling it here in the West.
Yeah, definitely. Good pool weather, I gotta say.
Right. Temperatures in the 90s. If you have a pool, you're lucky. If you have a friend with a pool, you're even luckier.
True.
Your maintenance can be quite the money pit for a pool there. So I want to talk about heat for this week's Atmospheric Impact, starting with the hottest number. The number we're focusing on is 94. That's been the hottest temperature of 2026 so far. And if it stayed that way, Riley, I think a lot of people would be so happy.
I think they would, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. You look at the number 94 and you're like, it's not too bad.
It isn't. Yeah, we hit it on May twice, the 11th and 21st. And then a few days ago on the start of meteorological summer, June 1st, 94 degrees. But it's even in the 7-day forecast that we're likely going to exceed that. So Thursday, I was looking, you were seeing Thursday. I was forecasting 97 as of yesterday.
Yeah.
Were you
NBM has 96. They've kind of flipped a little bit, but I still think, those upper 90s for sure.
Yeah,
or mid to upper 90s.
Yeah, we're splitting hairs here. 96, 97 degrees. It's going to be hot later this week. So I wanted to go back and look at some benchmarks that we've been tracking, starting at 70 degrees, going to 75, 80, 85 degrees. And that indicated the rate of warming for this year was off to a very fast pace, right? We were well ahead of our average first for all of those temperatures and their dates. Right, on April 23rd is when we tend to average our first 85-degree day. We hit it on March 17th, 35 days ahead of the average.
Right. Well, look at the 75. Our average is in March, and we hit that in February. I mean, you think it's just crazy.
Yeah, right. So the year started hot, and March was incredible. We had that 10-day stretch of record-breaking heat every single day, and then things have kind of slowed down. We hit 90 right around when we generally do, and then that 95, that one's close, right? Yeah, we're around there. So a little bit later than normal, though.
When you think about the heat, people are asking now, when's going to be it's the triple digits. When are we going to see it? When are we going to see the triple digits now?
Right. People want to know because, just want to mentally prepare. But I think people are happy when we say, not in the next 7 days, at least.
Right. Exactly.
So I wanted to go over some signs of summer, right? So the first one that tends to happen is a news story about the dangers of cold water and warm air. And that happened in March, right? When we had that record-breaking heat. We've had one red flag warning. Memorial Day just passed, and that's part of the unofficial summer, right? It starts Memorial Day, ends Labor Day. A lot of people associate summer with that. Heat advisory, and we were talking about this a moment ago. Kind of surprising. Hasn't happened yet.
Right. And we discussed it because have we not had one? But parts of the valley, but not North Sacramento Valley. But,
right. Not Sacramento itself. Still haven't had that 100-degree day, which I'm sure people are happy about. Meteorological summer, we mentioned that earlier. That started on the 1st, and astronomical summer starts in less than 3 weeks from now on the 21st. And that leads us into the differences of summer, Riley. And as meteorologists, we're kind of attuned to this, but I realize a lot of people at home may not realize that summer is defined in different ways. So that's the focus of this week's Ask Adam. I bet you're going to hear a lot of people saying that it feels like summer here in Sacramento and across the West this week, except summer hasn't started yet, but it kind of has. Do you know that there are 3 different types of summer? And the first one you probably haven't heard about, solar summer, began May 1st and goes through July. This is when solar radiation is the highest in the northern hemisphere. The UV indices are the highest. And if you have solar panels, this is literally your time to shine. The next type is meteorological summer, and this is statistically the hottest quarter of the year, from June through August. Scientists made it for better record keeping, so the dates are always the same. And the last type, you probably are familiar with, whether you realize it or not, is astronomical summer, the one we usually refer to. This has to do with the tilt of the Earth on its axis and its orbit around the sun. This starts around June 20th and lasts until about September 20th. This year on June 21st, the sun's most direct rays hit the Tropic of Cancer, 23.5 degrees above the equator, signifying the start of summer in the northern hemisphere, but also the start of winter in the southern hemisphere. And a little fun fact about our summer in the northern hemisphere, this is the point of the Earth's orbit when it's farthest away from the sun. So the distance has very little impact on our climate and temperatures.
relative to the tilt of the Earth on its axis. That's the reason for the seasons.
It's all about the tilt, baby.
The tilt, that's right.
Tilt of the Earth on its axis. And it's a common misconception. People would think, naturally, okay, if the Earth's orbit around the sun is elliptical, meaning it's not an even circle, some points it's farther away, some it's closer, that when it's closer, it would be hotter.
Right.
That's not the case.
Yeah.
Right. It's part of something called the Milankovitch cycles. So the tilt of the Earth creates our seasons. Northern and southern hemisphere are flipped, right? You might have kind of thought about that, but not really put it together. But yes, it's true. Our summer is their winter, vice versa. Our spring is their fall,
right,
vice versa.
Kind of fascinating.
It
When you
is.
think about it too.
It's amazing to think about our planet, our atmosphere, our solar system, and the universe as a whole.
Yeah.
All right. Space is insane. The more you think about it, it gets terrifying at some point to think about it too much.
Right.
All right, Riley, coming up, who are we talking to today?
Yeah, I talked with someone about mosquitoes, right? Because mosquitoes are getting bad. They have been bad right now, and we have some invasive mosquitoes in there. So brought the chat in just about mosquito safety, how to keep yourself safe, and so we don't contact some of the diseases that are going around. It's really important to know all this.
Yeah, people are afraid of sharks. They should be afraid of mosquitoes.
True.
They're the #1 killer of humans.
Ugh, don't like them.
We hate mosquitoes. Who likes them? All right, let's get to our break. We'll be right back in 2 minutes.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to jump to the package that I did, which was on mosquitoes and mosquito safety. Check it out.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us today on our Atmospheric Insight segment. Today, I'm talking with Luz Maria Robles, the PIO with Sacramento YOLO Mosquito and Vector Control District. Thanks, Luz. How are you today?
Hi, very good. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining and talking about this. We know it's a big subject right now, talking about mosquitoes. Want to dive in a little bit first for people who may be a little bit unfamiliar with the Sacramento YOLO Mosquito and Vector Control District. What exactly do you do and what's your mission?
Yeah, so we are the local agency charged with keeping residents safe from mosquitoes and mosquito-transmitted diseases. So, our job is to monitor mosquitoes, mosquito populations, and make sure that people are staying safe. Almost every county in California has a mosquito control district, but we cover Sacramento and Yolo County.
Wonderful. Perfect. That's good to know. I'm glad that you're here.
You're getting itchy. I can see you moving around like you're...
Absolutely.
I have that effect on people, unfortunately.
Let's dive in and talk about this year so far, because we've had some really hot days and then we've cooled down, but it's also been damp. We've had a good amount of rain and it's been wet. How does that create conditions for mosquitoes?
Well, actually, mosquitoes love these types of conditions, right? It's been very interesting. We've had very late spring rain. I can't believe it's already June and it was raining just this week. And, now it's going to be hot again. So that combination of the warm weather, the stagnant water, that creates the ideal mosquito breeding conditions. And unfortunately, it kind of gives mosquitoes a head start, right? So that's what they love. I bet you if you looked in your backyard, you'd probably see containers with water. And now it's going to be hot. So the heat actually accelerates a mosquito's life cycle. So we will see more mosquitoes, from this kind of unusual weather.
Ooh, that's not fun.
Yes,
That's
not good news, unfortunately.
It's not. Let's talk about, because we talked about the weather and the summer months, getting into it. Now there's different types of diseases that are happening right now. I know the West Nile, that's a main concern. Talk to me a little bit more about that and other diseases that we need to be lookout for and symptoms possibly.
Yes. So very important to recognize. So we have about 27 different species of mosquitoes within our region. Only 2 of those can transmit West Nile virus. We are getting into the season where we will see more West Nile virus activity, meaning mosquitoes that test positive for the disease, birds that test positive. We've already seen our first indication of both a mosquito sample and a bird testing positive, right? So between now and the end of October, we will see more of that activity, with a peak being June, July, and August. West Nile virus is the most prevalent disease that we have in our area. Obviously, it affects birds and mosquitoes and people, of course, right? So symptoms can include 80% of people actually don't develop any symptoms, or if they do, your body will get rid of those symptoms on their own. So that's the good news, right? 20% of people will develop what we call West Nile virus fever. So flu-like symptoms, fever, headache, fatigue, swollen lymph nodes, and then 1 in 150 people will develop the very severe form of the disease, the encephalitis, the meningitis, those severe cases that can lead to death. So, we definitely do see those in our area every year. Last year in California, there were 113 cases of West Nile virus and 11 fatalities. So
Wow.
every season can be a little bit different. This year, with the unusual weather that we're having, it's shaping to be, a busy season, especially because we've already seen West Nile virus activity. Other years, we don't see it until maybe about mid-June. So we're
Mhm.
definitely a couple weeks ahead of what we normally see.
Is it now the ones who carry the West Nile virus, right? For example, if I'm outside and I get a mosquito bite, should I be immediately concerned that that mosquito will carry it, or is it just a certain species? How
Well,
does that work?
we definitely don't want to, scare people, right? Out of the, just because you get bitten doesn't mean that you're automatically going to have West Nile virus. Like
Mhm.
I said, there's only two species that can carry it. Unfortunately, those species are common in backyard settings. So, if you do get bitten by a mosquito, and you start to develop some of these flu-like symptoms that I mentioned, it would be important to, hopefully you'll get better, but if not, important for you to go to your doctor and ask about the testing for West Nile virus. They can do a blood test that would, diagnose West Nile virus.
And how many hours after you typically have a bite or find a bite do you start feeling sick?
That's difficult to tell. Every person is a little bit different, but
Okay.
it could be, say 2 or 3 days
Okay.
after being bitten that you would potentially develop these symptoms.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, good to know. Let's talk about invasive species, right? Because that's a huge topic right now, and that's a main concern, right? We're getting new species of these mosquitoes. Can you
Yes.
describe and kind of talk more about that?
Yes. Okay. So very important to differentiate between the mosquitoes that would transmit West Nile virus and then those in what we call our invasive species of mosquitoes. They're actually more of a fall type mosquito, but every year we're finding them earlier and earlier. So those mosquitoes, there's again two species that are considered invasive that are very well established within our region and that can transmit dengue.
Okay.
That's a disease that's not very common in our area, but very common in other parts of the world where people typically travel to. Every year, we do see these travel related cases of dengue. So, people that go somewhere, they get sick. But the threat is not only are they spreading very rapidly and they are already very well established within Sacramento and Yolo County, as well as other, within our region, these mosquitoes, they're aggressive day biting mosquitoes. So,
Okay.
they bite during the day, unlike our West Nile virus mosquitoes that usually bite at dawn and dusk, right?
Mhm.
So these invasive mosquitoes, they prefer to bite people. They can grow. They grow primarily in your backyard in different sources, right? So
Wow.
your plant saucers, your dog dish, they can breed in as little as a teaspoon of water. So very small amount of water is necessary for these mosquitoes to breed. And once you detect them in any given area, it's very difficult to control them because, again, they can breed in a teaspoon of water, right? Also, their eggs, once they're laid, they can actually stay alive even in a dry format. So they just kind of hang out and wait for that container to be refilled with water and they can still survive. And as soon as water covers them, then they will hatch. So,
Wow, that's interesting. So you can actually have the water standing in your backyard, the eggs are laid, and then it dries out, but they can still be.
yes, they're
Wow.
just
Okay.
hanging out there waiting for that container to be
Mm,
refilled with water. And again, these mosquitoes primarily they prefer to bite people, whereas our West Nile virus mosquitoes, they obviously also bite people, but they would prefer to bite birds or other animals.
okay.
So very different species. And unfortunately, the invasive mosquitoes, they're rapidly spreading. And like I said earlier, if somebody travels and they get sick with dengue, then they come back, one of
Mhm.
these mosquitoes bites them, it gets infected with dengue, then that mosquito can bite another person that hasn't traveled, and that's how local disease transmission occurs, right? Back and until a few years ago, that was not happening, but as of 2023, we have seen local transmission of dengue in California to date only in Southern California, but it's definitely happening, and that's why we're concerned. So these mosquitoes are a big public health threat.
Absolutely. So something to look out for. And people who are concerned about this and notice that their houses are looking around and they find mosquitoes. Let's talk about the services that you offer people and including kids too, because
Yes.
my kids have baseball games in the evenings, but you had mentioned some services that you provide.
Yes. So our district provides a lot of different free services to the residents that we serve, right? So if you see or notice a lot of mosquitoes in your yard and you don't know where they're coming from, you can request a free home service inspection by visiting us on our website, fightthebite.net. You request our service. One of our field technicians will go out and conduct a free home service inspection, give you recommendations, maybe do a treatment in your yard to reduce mosquitoes if they are found. For people that have a pond at home, a fountain, maybe a horse trough, they can request mosquito fish. So these are small guppy-like fish that they feed on the immature mosquito larvae growing in a pond, for instance. So you can request those for free. You can also, speaking about kids, you can request the free mosquito repellent wipes. We have lots of wipes that we can give to the little leagues and the soccer leagues and organizations that work with the homeless. If the cities are having like a movies in the park, a music in the park, all of those agencies, they can request our free wipes, and we will give them free as part of the services that we offer.
That is wonderful to hear. That's music to my ears.
Yeah, exactly. Because prevention is the best, right? And people
Yep.
always say, "Well, what can you do?" Well, the first thing you should always be cognizant of is, for sure, not having stagnant water around your house, and then of course, repellent is going to be your best personal protection.
Great advice. Luce, thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll make sure that everyone is aware and we'll request your services. And we look forward to having you back sometime in the future and talk more about this.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Riley, terrific information as always. And if our audio was on during that interview, you would have just heard me going, huh,
Right.
oh.
A lot of information, a lot of things that
Yeah.
I didn't even know about, talking about the invasive species, which was one of the topics that Luce and I really wanted to target about. And then even learning that some of the eggs can hang out and be dormant for a while in dry
Yes.
conditions and then just waiting for,
Right.
more water.
That was one of the times I made a sound. I'm like, no, come on.
Right.
So these mosquitoes can dry out and then just wait dormantly
Yep.
for water to come, and then that's it. They're good to go.
We have no chance.
They're invasive. They're a
Right.
problem, right? They
Yeah.
spread disease from a bird to another mosquito that's more likely to bite you, goes to that bird, and then it's
Right.
come on.
I know.
They don't make it easy.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I thought was interesting too, relating it back to weather, was how much earlier we're starting to see these because of the warmer temperatures.
Makes sense, right? She's saying, the heat really helps them out.
Yeah.
Just need some standing water. All right, Riley, thank you again for the very useful information and that interview on mosquitoes and our safety. We are going to be right back. We're going to see where forecaster Genevieve Melzer takes us today. It's always someplace fun. We'll see you in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Atmospheric Insight. Riley, do you have a green thumb?
No.
Okay.
I wish I did. I enjoy it, but I'm not that good.
It's kind of like a light green thumb. I'm good at keeping plants alive that are hard to kill.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah,
I
that's
can
what I
keep
do.
them alive.
Yeah,
Keep 'em alive.
that's what we could do. All right, let's see if we got any tips about keeping plants alive. About a nursery here in Sacramento Green Acres. Genevieve Melzer takes us out there.
Whether we're planting flowers, growing vegetables, or creating your dream backyard, weather plays a huge role in our gardening success. We're at Green Acres Nursery and Supply to learn how weather impacts the plants we bring home. What are some of the biggest weather challenges gardeners face in Sacramento?
So luckily in Sacramento, we actually live in a really great climate for growing plants, and we have a long growing period and a mild winter. So that means we get to grow a lot of different things. Amazing, beautiful, colorful flowering plants and shrubs and trees from all around the world we get to grow here. We're pretty lucky in that sense. The one big thing that is a challenge for a lot of growers in this area can be the extreme heats in the summer. When we get those temps above 100 degrees, usually it's hard for us and it's hard for our plants. So that's one of the challenges that we face, is dealing with extreme heat.
How does that heat impact plants and landscaping?
So just like it's hard for us to be in the heat, it's hard for our plants too. So even if they're climate adaptive and they're low water use, the above 100 degrees is that danger zone. They start to struggle. And one of the biggest problems is that a lack of water can be tough for those plants. So some plants are okay with it, some are not. It all depends on your soil and where those plants are located. But for the most part, getting water to the roots is the most important thing that people need to think about when they're growing here.
What are some common mistakes homeowners make during heat waves?
The most common mistake is a mismanagement of water. So sometimes you may even be turning your sprinklers on, but they could be not targeting your plants correctly. There could be damage to that equipment if you're getting water runoff. So a big popular push that we're always promoting is drip irrigation, where you're putting the water exactly where the plants need it and the exact amount. We don't want to be overusing our water or underusing it. It's all about getting everything dialed in just right so you get that plant exactly what it needs.
Which plants thrive and which plants struggle in our summer heat?
So we're always bringing in newer plants that do well in extreme heats. Sometimes that means California native plants are of course going to be well suited to grow in this area. They're used to those extreme temperatures. They're used to the soils in this area. They do especially well. But now we're actually drawing from other similar climates around the world. So we get in a lot of plants from Mediterranean climates, from South Africa, from Australia. Those areas have a lot of the same types of conditions that are here. So plants from there do really well.
Can you show us some of those native plants that do well in our summer heat?
Right behind me, we have a huge selection of heat hardy plants that do really well in those extreme temps here in Sacramento. We have salvias and lavenders. They are low water plants and they actually thrive in this area. They have beautiful, colorful flowers that attract pollinators, and so they're a benefit to our environment here as well, our local ecosystem. And they're a thrill to grow because they're so pretty, they smell good, and they do well, and it's easy to be successful with them.
With summer approaching, what advice would you give viewers who want to keep their gardens healthy?
I think that one of the biggest keys to success, especially in the summer, is footsteps in the garden. That means that you're out there and you're monitoring, you're keeping an eye on things as they're going. That way you can check when you notice a sprinkler head is broken. You can be there to see those leaves are starting to wilt. You can be there to adjust things as needed, edit your landscape. Maybe you just have the wrong plant in there as well, and maybe it's just not gonna do well. You need to get that out and put something in that's gonna perform a little better.
Join us next week when we continue our interview with Green Acres and discuss how changing weather patterns impacts business and operations.
Footsteps in the garden.
Love it.
I like that. And
Yes.
obviously, there's so much to cover about weather and your garden and planting and agriculture. So, Genevieve, part 2, you're going to have to tune in for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The one thing is I don't have the visual. I would need somebody to come in and actually be like, here's what you need to do. Here's the plants. I think I could get the watering down good, but I love a good garden.
Yeah.
But I do need it's a lot of knowledge. You got to learn about it, like what you have to do, what plants go where. I mean, all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we heard, some plants better suited for the sun
Mhm.
and the heat. Like if you love plants but don't have much luck, do what I do. Buy a cactus, right? Very
There
hard
you
to
go.
kill a cactus.
Right.
You can forget about it for a couple months and it's still hanging out
Yep.
there all spiky and happy. All right, thank you for joining us on Atmospheric Insight. We'll see you again next week.